Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to give you guys my Wallabies squad for the 2023 Rugby Championship. Before I do so, click the button guys right now and subscribe towards the channel. But yeah, let's get straight into this. So as you can see here guys, we are going to go for the standard tier list as normal. We'll go for the props, the hookers, the locks, the loose forwards, the scrum halves, the fly halves, centers, as well as the winger/fullbacks. And again, we are taking into account that Eddie Jones has said recently that he actually prefers to have a 33-man squad rather than the normal 36 going into this Rugby Championship. So for this video, we are going to actually go with 33 players instead of 36. So again, it makes it a bit more tougher. At the same time, I mean, I guess it's understandable why he's doing it, because he wants to have, I guess, the understanding of what it feels like to have the squad size he'll have going into the Rugby World Cup. So I can see the reason behind his thinking, but yeah, it's a weird one because I've never seen it happen before. But hey, I mean, it's Eddie Jones, so what can you expect, really? But yeah, I mean, look, we'll start off with the props, of course. I mean, look, the props have a lot of injuries in itself. I mean, look, there's the likes of Tenio Tupou, who's out, and Angus Bell, who normally would be selected in the squad, but again, they're just not available for, I guess, the starting half of this Rugby Championship. And if they do come back, only be later into the Rugby Championship. But at the end of the day, they're not going to be part of my thinking for this one. And again, they're probably two that would go into the World Cup, but just not right now. And again, you do have the likes of Tom Robinson, who's the other one, who has, but unfortunately, has recently injured his ACL, and is actually heading to Oxford next year to study. So he's really just not available for the Wallabies entirely. So he'll be gone for a while. But in terms of the props you do have available, I think the notable two are definitely going to be probably I'll say Alana and probably James Slipper. I think those are the two which you just have to go with, because them two are just so vital towards this Wallabies side. Because in all honesty, these two could probably be selected as captain. I don't even make that bold of a claim, saying one of these two, I wouldn't be surprised, are selected as captain for the Wallabies. Again, you probably do have Michael Hooper go. I mean, look, Michael Hooper, if he goes, he is going to be part of the squad, and I think he will be captain. He's just that good of a player, which his leadership skills alone, I mean, you have to have him, I think, in my opinion. But I think in terms of if there's other candidates, I think it's literally between these two. So I think these two have to go. In terms of scrummaging, they're kind of good in that department as well. Again, I guess the other ones, I'm being very fair here, guys. I think I'm going to go with Schlupp as really the kind of the replacement. Normally Slipper's replacement for the Brumbies, I think, has been pretty good and was selected for the training squad as well. So I'd probably go with him. I guess you probably go with Palm Faniasi as well, as in terms of the replacement for Alana Toa. And then do you go with 6 or 5? I mean, because it's so condensed, I'd actually only go with 5 in terms of the prop position, and I'd probably go with Van Nelk because I've been pretty impressed with him actually in terms of the Brumbies. So yeah, that's my 5 there in terms of the props. I mean, going with the hookers again, this is a tough selection because you do have a load of hookers you can go with. I think it's 5 in general. It's kind of you're selecting from, which is Lachlan Lonergan. You have the likes of Dave Porecki, you have Matt Fasler, you have Flau Faanga, and Jordan Uwasi. So a big selection there. And I guess if there's certain players you're going to choose, I'd probably say it's Lachlan Lonergan. I think he's the one that stands out the most because he's been kind of a skin this year for the Brumbies, so he's probably the one I would select. And then, I mean, I think I'd probably go with Fasler because he's like the young hook you want to bring along in the squad. And I think this will be kind of like a good... This is the reason why. I mean, you want to have him in the Rugby Championship so he has that kind of experience earlier on, and he would be a bolter because he's never been selected for the Wallabies before. So I think he's someone who I definitely would pick out of this bunch. But then it comes down towards the last 3, and normally you'd be screaming for a Flau Faanga because he's been one of the best hookers you can say within Super Rugby for a long time. But he has recently announced he's going to leave I believe to France, if I'm not mistaken, after this year, and he's just really dropped in form overall. And I think if you're going down towards, if I discount him and go between Dave Porecki or Jordan Uwasi, I'd probably go Dave Porecki just because he's a lot more experience under his belt. So I think that's the 3 I would probably go with in terms of hooking positions. In terms of locks, I mean, this is where it gets a bit difficult, guys, because this is where kind of the first instance of the 3 overseas players comes to effect in terms of the Matt Gitu rule. And to be perfectly honest, guys, I would actually choose Will Skelton. I think he's been that good this year for Stade Rochetes that you have to go with him. I mean, he's just been that important towards that side. And he's demonstrated time and time and again how vital he can be in terms of that locking position. And with Eddie Jones in charge now, I mean, he's really, Will Skelton's really had a lot of nice things said about Eddie Jones. So I think there's a good relationship there, actually. And I think he will be a part of this Rugby Championship squad, in my opinion. So I would select him because he's like the hands down lock, really, and probably one of the best locks in the world at the moment. So I think you have to go with him. In terms of his his partners, I mean, I would personally go with Nick Frost. I've been very impressed by him in terms of the Brumbies. Another young lock, only 23 years old, so has a long way to go. But he's been probably one of the best locks I'd say in Super Rugby this year. So I'd probably go with Nick Frost in my opinion. In terms of the other ones, you do the likes of, Kenny Neville, you've Jen Holloway, you've Matt Phillip, and Darcy Swain. But if I had to choose, I guess I probably want to choose like two more. I'd say out of this bunch, I'd probably go with Neville because I think he just brings you a lot of experience under his belt. So I'd probably go with him. He's 34 years old, but still he adds value. And I'd probably go with Jed Holloway actually, just because he's been good for the Waratahs this year. And if you want to, he can be a 6. And we've seen Eddie Jones in the past play players about 6, like Courtney Walls, for example. So maybe Jed Holloway can be that kind of guy if they want him to be. So I think that's the 4 I'd probably go for in terms of the locks there. In terms of loose forwards, I mean, this is where it gets a bit more tougher, guys, because you do have the likes of, I guess, like what? You got Wilkin, you got Swinton, you got Hannigan, you got Michael Hooper. I mean, Michael Hooper's the guaranteed. I think that's the guaranteed one already. You got Pete Samu, Harry Wilson, Lennon Gleeson. I mean, Paul Valentini as well. For him. Jeez. I think Pete Samu is a guaranteed. I think them two are guaranteed, and I'd probably say Rob Valentini because that's. I mean, in all honesty, you can go with that as your starting loose forwards if you wanted to, playing Pete Samu at the 8, or even switching it around, playing him at the 6 maybe if you wanted to. But at the end of the day, that's probably the guaranteed 3. If I was like 3 more in this bunch, I'd probably go with Fraser McWright. He's had a very good season, let's say, for the Reds. And he's really stood out in terms of his tackling percentage. I mean, that game against the Chiefs, he literally didn't miss a tackle at all. So I think you have to take that into account. And he can definitely be the backup you maybe say for Hooper if you need to be. I'd probably go Harry Wilson. Again, very impressed by him in terms of the Reds, in terms of what they did in the playoffs, as well as the latter rounds of the Super Rugby season. So I'll probably go with Harry Wilson. And he can play 6 if you need him to. Need to. You know what? I'm actually going with Landon Gleeson. I think you need a bit of young youth in this, and I think that's what they need because you have 2 experienced players here, and you need to kind of get more of that youth aspect into this side as well. So I'm going to go with Landon Gleeson because I've been very impressed by him. Again, he was introduced into the Wallabies setup last year, and I thought he was pretty impressive actually. So yeah, I'm going to go with Gleeson there. So that's kind of the 4-pack there for the Wallabies I've selected. In terms of the back line, I mean, scrum halves, I think this is pretty easy. I think it's Nick White, Tate McDermott, and you do have Ryan Lonergan. I think that's probably the 3. But again, you could also consider going with. I mean, I feel bad for Jake Gordon because he just hasn't had the year which we all kind of expected. So I think he's immediately out. But if you want to put one outside of the box, you could go with Kurt Barlow because again, he has represented the All Blacks in the past. But he is obviously, part of the Stade Rochet team, same as Will Stilton, and he's been incredible. And I think through his mother, can actually represent the Wallabies. So he's definitely someone you could actually put into the squad. But the problem is that I'm not sure if they should do it because it's like he's been actually one of the best scrum halves you could say technically in Europe, but. It's one of those like where do you put him ahead of like Nick White because that's kind of what you're doing. If you put him in, he's going to be your starting scrum half. So it's a very big call to make. I wouldn't be surprised if they do it, but it's just one of those where I think you have Nick White. I mean, I think it's way too. It would be a bold call. Let's just say that it would be a bold call, but we'll have to see what happens. But maybe that's one that I could be very surprised about if they do it, but also maybe not surprised. But anyway, that is the 3 I'm going with. I think that's kind of an easy 3 to go off. And in terms of the fly-offs, this is where it gets a bit tricky, guys, because you have 2 players who also come into the overseas rule, which is Quade Cooper as well as Bernard Foley, of course. And you do the likes of Connor Gordon, Noel Laseo, even Jack Debrasini, and Ben Donaldson. So they have a lot of options there in terms of the the fly-off. I mean, that's like what 6 in total. It's pretty impressive. But because we have a condensed squad here, guys, I'm actually considering just to go with 2. Which is maybe a bit a surprise to a lot of you, but I think 2 could be enough just for this Rugby Championship squad. So I think I'm actually going to go 2 players in total, and I've actually decided to go with Quade Cooper because I think Eddie Jones has kind of stated that Quade Cooper is someone he kind of looks up to as maybe starting for the Wallabies, and he likes an experienced scrum half as well. So I think Quade Cooper suits that, and I'd probably go with Carter Gordon because I think you need a bit of youth, and I think he's like the what's it called, the apprentice, you can say, towards the fly position for the future. So I think that's the two I'd probably go with. Again, I feel bad for Bernard Foley because he's been brilliant in Japan. I think he won the Japanese top league, so it'd be a really big miss to not include him. Oh gosh, I feel bad actually not including him, but I'm doing this on the basis where I think they would probably go with Quade Cooper ahead of Bernard Foley, but I would personally go with Bernard Foley, but I have to keep in mind what Eddie Jones will do as well. So I think he'll probably go with Quade Cooper. So that's the only reason why I haven't gone with him, guys. I mean, I could be wrong there, but let me know in the comments, by the way, so far if there's anything that you guys agree or disagree with at the moment. But in terms of the centers, I mean, look, the centers, it's a tough one because you do have the likes of what? And by the way, I forgot to say James O'Connor is the other one. But again, he comes into the center equation. So you have James O'Connor, Samu Karevi, you got Laikai Fokoteli, you got Len Ikitau, you got Hunter Basami, you got Josh Fluke, Israel Pelusi. That's kind of it, really, in terms of that thing. I mean, again, you could probably put Jordan Patai in there if you want to, but I see him more as a kind of an outside back who can kind of switch towards the 13 if needed. But I think you're probably going to go with Samu Karevi. I think that's the obvious one. I think you're probably going to go with Len Ikitau. I think that's the guaranteed two, and probably the two you may start in terms of this Wallabies kind of back line. In terms of the replacements, I'd probably go fuck with Foketi. I mean, he's been pretty impressive to say for the Wallabies throughout whenever he's played. And he's actually had a good season overall for the Waratahs. So I'd actually go with Foketi there. And I think I have to put him in. I think I'm going to go with Josh Fluke. I think he's been brilliant for the Reds this year. And he's really stood out overall. So he would be kind of like a bolter there. So similar to Carter Gordon, another bolter I'm going to add it to the squad. I think that's kind of the four I'm probably going to go with there. So it's a big call to miss out, for Hunter Basami or Israel Parisi. But I think that's the center combinations I would go with. In terms of the backs, I mean, this is the last spot here, winger/fullbacks. I mean, you're going to go with Marika Corbetty. That's the obvious one. Oh my gosh, I just remembered. Oh my gosh, I've selected 4 overall here because Corbetty's in Japan. Oh no, I've just remembered something. I can't choose Corbetty, Karevi, Quade, and Will Skelton. Oh, that screws it up a bit. Oh, do I not select Will Skelton then? No, you know what, guys? I'm going to make a big call here. This is probably the biggest call I'm going to make in a while. I'm actually not going to go with Samuel Karevi. I think Corbetty is more important than Karevi. And instead of him, I could probably go James O'Connor, actually, because he could fit in a 10 spot if needed. Or 12. Or Hunter Basami. You know what? I'm going to go Hunter Basami. I think that's probably the better play. I would go James O'Connor personally, but I'm thinking of what Hunter Basami would do. But then James O'Connor can act as kind of the Owen Farrell role. He has been impressive, I'd say, O'Connor. But Basami, yeah. I'm going Basami. I think you just have to go with Hunter Basami there. But then it's O'Connor. Oh, I hate this so much, guys. This is such a difficult choice here, guys. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm actually going to go with James O'Connor. This may be the wrong play here, but I'm thinking more in terms of like what I've seen previously with Eddie Jones in terms of the 10-12 combination. And having someone like Quade Cooper and James O'Connor on your side, I can see that kind of happening. So I'm going to go with that. I think that's probably what I'll go with. And that then allows Corbetty obviously to be selected. But then, no Karevi then. Oh my gosh, that's a big call. Okay, well, we'll see if this happens at all. Maybe I'm completely wrong here, guys, but I feel like Will Skelton deserves to be in. So I think that's the reason why I've kind of left Karevi off the list. But in terms of the other players, I guess, I mean, I'll probably go with Corey Toole. Been very impressed by him in terms of the Brumbies. Scored 9 tries throughout Super Rugby, so he's definitely someone I'd select. Vinivalu, again, another impressive season for the Reds. He's really stood out this year, guys. Really stood out. I think he scored like 8 or 9 tries for the Reds this year. His try scoring ability has actually improved a lot. So I actually think he gets into the squad. Maybe for the World Cup, we'll have to wait and see. But for the Rugby Championship, I think he deserves it. So I'd probably go with him. I mean, Tom Wright, you got to go with. And then I think you can. I'd probably go Jordan Bataya because he can cover 15 for. I mean, that gives a lot of. Let me check them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What is it? That's 9. That's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14, that's 20, 24, 27. Wait, that's 32. I've only slept at 32. Is that right? Have I only selected 32? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Oh, I can select one more. Oh, now this is big. Maybe I just go with Hunter Masami then, because that kind of gives more cover. Unless there's like a lock I should go with, like. No. Then you have Andrew Callaway as well, and Reece Hodge. Oh, forgot about him. God, Reece Hodge as well, and Tom Banks. Oh, these are big calls. But I can't go with Tom Banks because he's now in Japan. Really, I wouldn't even select him now. Andrew Callaway just hasn't had the season he had last year, and Reece Hodge has been pretty impressive, I'd say. And he can fit in that 12 or 10 position. So, you know what? I'm actually going to go with Reece Hodge. I think that's kind of a suitable one to go with. And I'll put Jordan Tyre there just as in terms of the centers can cover both positions. So, yeah, that's my team. That is my team. Oh, my gosh. It was such a hard selection, guys. It's going to be much tougher, by the way, guys, when it comes towards the World Cup. But yeah, that's my team for the Rugby Championship, guys, for this Wallabies side. Let me know in the comments, by the way, guys, if you agree or disagree with some of my choices. Again, remember, you're only allowed 3 players from overseas. Keep that in mind, by the way. So the 3 players I've selected is Will Skelton, Quade Cooper, and Core Betty. So let me know if you agree with that as well. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys next time.
Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that's a stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up. Feel I'm in the mood for a